People, I welcome you to Christ Without Borders. Now, the Lord is laying on my heart to share with somebody. I don't know who this is for. The Lord is leading me to speak on the element of surprise in warfare. Now, this topic, warfare, is a lot of Christians who don't want to hear it. I don't know why. Our walk and our journey here on earth is a warfare. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions, spiritual wickedness in high places. Galatians chapter 6 down. That was a big revelation that was given to us by the Apostle Paul, and he's letting us understand. You wrestle not against flesh and blood. You are fighting against supreme beings, spiritual beings, spirits without bodies. Now, let me say this. An enemy who is in spirit, you don't fight him in the flesh, you fight him in spirit. You wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So it's very important that you pay attention to the spiritual side of this Christian walk. We have gotten too excited about the physical things and we have ignored the spiritual things. You cannot win your battles when you face your battles in the flesh. Your enemy is invisible. To fight him, you have to go to the other dimension, the other side, the spiritual side, and deploy the weapons from the spiritual dimension before you are going to have success. Now, element of surprise is a big and powerful tool in the army and the arsenal of the enemy. Element of surprise is what the Japanese used against the United States in the bombing of the Pearl Harbor. They wouldn't have joined the Second World War, but the Japanese caused a lot of chaos and destruction, which even prompted the United States to release the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Element of surprise. Now, the devil has been here for a very long time. He's seen a lot of wars. He has influenced a lot of wars, and he's still behind it. Element of surprise is so powerful that, and I'm seeing it. A lot of Christians are in this place. You see, we want to always sleep, relax, have fun, not pray, not prepare, and the enemy takes us by surprise. Beautiful marriages have been destroyed by element of surprise of the enemy. Beautiful churches have been torn down by the element of surprise by the enemy. I'm telling you, beautiful companies, prosperous companies have been torn down. Beautiful nations have been destroyed by the element of surprise by the enemy. In World War II, the Germans used blitzkrieg. It's still an element of surprise. They had very fast-moving vehicles. They had invented and created very fast-moving vehicles, very strong, potent tanks and war vehicles. And some of these countries they took over, it was so fast that they didn't even realize it. And the enemy, and they moved in the night. So before daybreak, most of these countries that Germany conquered during the Second World War, they were already in the country. And that's not the time you're going to call your forces and try to wake people up and try to prepare. Germany had already taken over big nations. Germany they were everywhere. Their vehicles were everywhere. They have already crossed borders. They were already far into their country, so they had no choice but just to surrender. In World War II, if you do your research, you are going to come across it. The blitzkrieg is all about speed. Speed, fast. And that's what the enemy uses. The same tactics today. You saw how Russia entered Ukraine. They thought it was just a rhetoric, or they're just flexing their muscles. Today, Russia has taken over all around all the coastal line and has blocked Ukraine from receiving any shipments. And are you seeing how the world is still how the world is still struggling to amass resources and how the world is so struggling to come together and make a one uniform decision. Element of surprise is very potent, and the devil uses it against the children of God. You have to always be on the lookout. It's not the easiest thing, but it's the best. One of the reasons why people praise the United States Army is because they are always on the lookout. They are always ready. There are always people sitting behind their radar, watching and listening and waiting for what they are going to do. And as a Christian, you have to also be ready. You see, I don't know where this is coming from. Many of us want to sleep. And I'm telling you something. When you sleep and wait for the enemy to march his soldiers, his armies, his ships, whatever, his air force, his ground force, his navy to your doorstep and starts attacking you, it's very difficult to recover. It's to recover out of that, unless a divine intervention. Most of the time it's 1 out of 10. And most Christians are in this mindset. You get married, beautiful wedding, that is it. They stop praying. They don't pray, they don't do anything. You sit down 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You wait for the enemy to enter and destroy the marriage before you start going to prayer. You are not ready. You are not serious. You are not prepared. You are not prepared. You are not prepared. The enemy always will attack at night. Will always attack when it is coldest in the night. The enemy will attack at the very odd hours of the night. Because at that time, he's sure to find you asleep. The enemy will not show up during the day. He won't show up by the day so that somebody will at least see and alert you. He will always attack in the night, very deep in the night, especially on the rainy days, on the very cold evenings. These are the days the enemy loves to attack. I'm talking to Christians. Listen, one of the very important things Israel keep using is preemptive attacks. You've seen how they've used it. They've used it in Syria, they've used it in Iran, they have used it in the West Bank. Preemptive attack. And this is one of the things that has protected Israel for years. Israel will not wait for you to prepare the atomic bomb. He will make sure he bombs that facility before you finish. He knows what they know what that means. Preemptive attack is so important. Preemptive attack always discourages the enemy all the time to even prepare and become comfortable to attack you. We've seen it. West Bank, the Palestinians. Preemptive attack all the time. Preemptive attacks. The United States used the same strategy when they were in Iraq, Iran, when they were in Afghanistan. The drone bombings were preemptive attacks. Some of them, they didn't have physical evidence, but they looked at, they connected 1, 2, 3 dots together and then took some of these people out. Preemptive attack is very important for you as a Christian. Why? Because it discourages the enemy it stops the enemy from coming together. It stops the enemy from planning extensively against you. We need preemptive attack every day. That's why the Bible tells us to be prayerful. So pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. It's very important. Pray for your family. Pray for your loved ones. Pray for your wife. Pray for your children. Even pray for your unborn children. Pray ahead of time for when your wife will deliver. If you are not even married. You see, we have to do some of these things. But nobody is teaching us. Nobody is telling the church. Prayer is at an all-time low now in 2022. It's at an all-time low. There are people who are not praying. A lot of us want to sleep. We only wake up once the enemy has started attacking us. And I'm telling you something, listen. An enemy who takes 5 years to plan an attack against you. When you sit down, when you sleep, when you wait for that enemy to march to your doorstep, bring his armies, bring his forces, bring his air force, bring his navies to your doorstep, has taken time, has amassed has prepared resources, has moved his army, has marched his army to your doorstep after 5 years and is blasting you, you cannot take 1 day to overcome it. You cannot take 1 month to overcome it. You cannot take 1 year to overcome it. This is how the enemy is working in this time and this season. Wake up. Preemptive strike. Pray every day for family, for loved ones, for future ideas, future investments, for unborn children, for your wife's delivery. There are a lot of people dying through the women dying when they are going to deliver. Prayer is at an all-time low. Rise up and pray. Preemptive attack. Don't wait for the enemy to come to your doorstep. Don't wait for something bad to happen before you start praying. Believer. Thank you once again. This is Christ Without Borders. Share with your friends. Share with loved ones. Share with anybody who thinks is going to be helpful to. Help spread the message. Thank you once again.